Hey guys, how you doing? It's TJ Lawton here, and today I want to go into the three levels of creative motivation. So this is going to be quite an esoteric video, maybe a little bit spiritual. And if it's not your jam, then this video might not be for you. But if you're looking for some reasons to why you're not making the music you like or you're not being motivated, this might have a few clicks for you. I'm not really sure. This is a bit of a different video, a bit more deep, a bit more like paradigms and mindsets and stuff like that. So when we talk about the three levels of creative motivation, what I'm talking about here is the sort of frame of mind you come from when you're making music. So, are you coming from a state of ego or what emotional state you're in? Or are you coming from a place of like the muse and wanting to sacrifice part of yourself to create something bigger outside of yourself? This isn't, this is like on one side you might be doing it for validation, for money, for fame. On the other side, you're doing it for legacy reasons to sort of show humanity what's possible. And I know it sounds kind of weird, right? Because most people think, well, of course you make music to get popular and get set and get gigs and stuff like that. That's what it's all about, right? But I'll tell you, the best artists in the world probably don't think like that. I'm not them, so I don't know. But I think maybe they create from more of a place of like, I can't wait to show this music to people so it can change their lives kind of thing, rather than like what's in it for me, which is the other side. So as I said at the start, there's like three levels. There's your low level motivations, your mid level motivations, and your high level motivations. So let's start the low one. The low one is like sort of like your needy ego states. This is going to be things like, oh, I want to get really good at music so that my ex-girlfriend takes me back, or my old friend who said I wasn't going to make it can shove it and show that I can do it. Now, when you create from these low level motivations, these low level creative motivations, the kind of music you're going to make is going to be awful. Sometimes it might actually work out. I don't know. I've never really had a situation where I made music from those states. My music came out like sounding something that was beyond me. It always came out sounding some really shitty, heavy tech house mess that was just trying to impress people, trying to be like, oh, I'm going to make this and it's going to be a banger. Then everyone's going to think I'm cool. I'm going to get the validation. I'm going to get the shows. And that's not like how I'm thinking consciously. It's more of like a subconscious way of thinking. Um, and the emotional states you're coming from there are things like pride, anger, grief, vengeance, stuff like that. And they're motivators, right? That stuff does motivate you. It does get you into the door and making music. But you think about what kind of music you're making from those states, it's probably not going to be the best. So then the next level, the middle level, is still like your egoic desires, but it's more high level. It's more like I really want to get good at music so that I can have my girlfriend come on trips with me and we go shows and we go explore the world, or I have all my friends make enough money so all my friends can go to a cool restaurant and show and do some cool shows together. And I want to be able to help other music producers and DJs come up with me and stuff like that. Now these are still more about you, but it's got more of a collaborative sort of frame rather than a competitive frame, because the one below was more of a competitive frame. This one's more collaborative. You're more trying to be like, I want to succeed. I want to succeed so more people can help come in with me and join my community. So instead of it being singular, you're now thinking in a community sense. So in this state, when you make music, you're going to make music that maybe you don't normally make, but you usually make music with other people and stuff like that, and maybe do remixes. I guess this is where a lot of like the mid-range producers probably sit. Again, I don't know how their mind works, so I can't really say for sure. But this is just like my opinion. This is just my speculation. So take it with a grain of salt, of course. And then we've got high level motivations. Now this is where it gets a bit more esoteric, a bit more spiritual. This is where bands like Earth, Wind and Fire sit, in my opinion. People like David Bowie or stuff like that. People who are not making music because they feel like they need to make money or they need to have a career. They just do. It's just, well, they don't even do. They just be. They just it's a difference between they're not doing it, they're being it, and it's something that comes out. And the difference between doing and being is something that you can understand. It's more of a spiritual term I've read in The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a very popular book on spirituality, which I highly recommend you read. So the idea between that is like people at these high levels, they're just being one with the muse, right? They're not making music to get a career or make money, or even though that's what happens as a byproduct. But generally, like they're making music from this state with no ego. They're in complete flow. And I've watched some TED talks from like the woman who wrote that book, Eat, Pray, Love. I can't remember her name. But she did this TED talk where she talked about how when she writes books, she doesn't take responsibility for the work. She allows something called the muse to come in and channel through her, and she just steps out the way. She's like, right, okay, the muse is paying me a visit. I just have to step out the way and let it channel through me and create what it does. Now you can imagine making from this state what kind of stuff you can't really imagine from this state what kind of music you make, because it would be something just so weird and almost original, right? You'd be like, well, this is mental. There's a few times I've made music from these states and just been like, huh? I didn't even know how to do. And like, if someone said to me, how did you make that sound? I'd be like, I can't remember. I literally was just in a state, I was flowing with it, and it just happened. I'm sure you probably had states like this too, where you're in these deep flow states. So yeah, with the high level creative motivation, you're doing things more to show, you're not doing it for yourself, you're showing like humanity, like kind of like, this is what's possible. You're showing like, this is going to touch the souls and hearts of like millions, right? That's how the thinking is occurring. It's not about you. It's about you transforming humanity, shifting humanity in a different direction. You think about the songs like Earth, Wind and Fire wrote, they probably, I mean, not probably, they are listened to till this day, still played and still loved by millions, even though that song is like 50 years old. And of course you could disagree with me on this. This is just, again, this is like these esoteric opinions. But those are like the 3 levels of creative motivation I think about when I make music. And you sort of have to detect where you are in that state, because if you're in those low level states, I mean, if you have absolutely no motivation, if you can't even be asked to make music, sometimes tapping into that low level state can help you get going, but it's not a place where you want to stay. Definitely not. You want to use that maybe as a booster to then get to the other levels. So let's go through the emotions again. The low level emotions are going to be things like pride, vengeance, anger, sadness. The mid level is going to be things like courage, happiness, joy, excitement. And the top level are going to be things like enlightenment, divinity, stuff like that. It's a bit more esoteric, like I said, but these states are, you could be in the studio making music and you just lose yourself for like hours, and you go like, oh, I didn't even realize where I was. I completely lost my sense of self. I forgot who I was. I forgot what I was doing. I was just one with the instrument, and things were flowing. And yeah, those are like sort of the 3 states of motivation, creative motivation, that I would probably maybe think about when you next go to make music, and ask yourself what state you're in. Now you can do things like meditation to raise that state and stuff like that. There's a few meditations I use personally that I could teach, help me get into those states more often and allow me just to create music every day. Like literally I write a finished piece of music every day. That doesn't mean it's like necessarily mixed and mastered, but it's something that I can go like, right, this is a demo. What do you think? And it's not always the best. Just because you're in these like high level states and these flow states doesn't mean you necessarily write amazing music. It just means it comes from somewhere else. It comes from the muse rather than the ego, which generally is a lot more freeing. And like I said in a previous video, when you come out of these states, you could be making music for hours and you come out and you actually feel more energetic than when you started. But when you create music from ego, you come in, it's like, it's slow, it's frustrating, it grinds. It's kind of like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, arrangement, I don't want to do that, but I have to, because I have to show Sally that I'm going to make it, and bullshit like that. And you come away from it just feeling like, oh, that was hard, that was grind. I really don't want to do that again tomorrow. So even though that can motivate you, you're going to come away feeling less energized. You're going to feel like you've just done a shift at the office or something. It's really, really hard. Now I've actually got a template. I know I talk about this a little bit in my other videos too, but I've got a template that actually helps with flow state and stuff like that. There's a link in the description that goes into like an explanation about how it works and shows all the features and benefits. So please click the link below and check it out after this video. I'm sure you're going to find it a massive help. So anyway, that's the video for today. I hope you found this useful. Again, please take this with a grain of salt. This isn't like a rule or this is the way it works necessarily. This is just my opinion, my speculation on things that I've experienced and things that I've read and done. Before you go flaming in the comments telling me I'm wrong, which I might be, that's okay. Just have you know this is just my opinion. So that's for today's video. I hope you found it useful, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Cheers.